G'day, ZiggyD here with a detailed guide on how workshop PvP mechanics work in Fallout 76. You'll be able to use this information to more effectively steal other people's workshops and defend your own. Workshops are pretty key in Fallout 76. They provide spots where you can harvest resources used in crafting, essentially if you want to create and mod the best weapons possible. And some of them even have factories used to do things like produce ammunition. But this guide isn't about the basics of workshops, it's more about the nuanced aspects of how PvP and wanted flagging works alongside of them. So let's get stuck into it. The first thing to know is about workshop capturing. After you clear out the enemies from a workshop and claim it for your own, other players will have the opportunity to try and take it for themselves. If they are successful, it'll transfer full ownership of the workshop and everything in it to them, so you'll want to know how to make this as hard as possible. When another player attempts to capture your workshop, they'll become flagged for PvP. This means that you can attack them and deal full damage to them. You'll also receive a notification when this happens, so if you're not nearby, you can fast travel over if you're quick enough. The hostile player will have to uncap and then recap the workshop by standing in the circle, so you'll want to convince them to leave with bullets. Your turrets will also attack players that attempt to capture your workshop, provided they are within range and pointing in the right direction. As such, it's a good idea to place some turrets facing your red workshop bench to deter players from attempting to capture it. Now, protecting your bench in such a way is an okay option, but we can do better. If the bench is located inside of a building, you can lock any doors by switching to the modify option and using the lock key, which is F on PC. You can place up to a level 3 lock, which will stop anyone without that level of perk investment from getting in. Additionally, you can build walls to prevent entry from other directions. However, this can actually be pretty difficult to do so around pre-existing objects, so a better option may be to plug any gaps with other workshop options like furniture and shelves. Here's where it gets pretty interesting. Players can destroy your workshop items like walls and furniture, and don't worry too much, you can pretty easily repair them from the workshop bench. But if someone does destroy something in your workshop, they will become wanted and a bounty of caps will be placed on their head. Since these caps come from their own stockpile of caps, this is a solid way to discourage people from attempting to steal your workshop. And the bounty of caps increases for each object destroyed, so several layers of furniture to block entry will quickly add up, and someone trying to steal your workshop could quickly lose all of their caps. It's also worth noting that attacking turrets will also place a bounty on the attacker's head, so some well-placed turrets on less important workshops will likely also do the trick. By placing walls and furniture and locking doors, you can quite easily make it absolutely 100% not worth it to try and steal your workshop, and that's the key. To be honest, the bounty system is pretty brutal here, and it'll likely discourage most players from even attempting to fight workshops. So, ownership of the workshop is secured. But what about the all-important resource extractors? These are the whole reason for taking over a workshop in the first place. Other players can simply walk up and take resources out of them as well, and doing so is not a crime and will not flag PvP or give them a bounty. To combat this, you can also use the lock system to place a lock on any extractor or factory. Lock them with a level 3 lock and very few people will actually be able to get in, and if a player does lockpick them, it will place a bounty on their head. The bounty and the lock will be enough to keep most players out. But if you really want to be sure to protect a certain valuable extractor or factory, then you can also use the previous advice and build some walls and furniture to make it not worth it to break in. Just make sure to leave a wall with a door for you to get in yourself. So, there you have it. Your workshop and the resources you are harvesting are secure because it's simply not financially worth it to try and break in. That cap bounty is just going to become too brutal too quickly if you take these steps. So what about from the other side if you want to raid other people's workshops? Well, honestly, it's pretty hard if they've secured them properly like we've talked about here. You'll only really be able to take a workshop without receiving a bounty if the workshop is unprotected by turrets or walls. And resources can only be taken without a bounty if they don't have a lock on them. So you'll only easily be able to take stuff from players who don't really know what they're doing. However, after an NPC attack, and these happen every so often, most turrets will often be destroyed, and if not repaired, that can be your opportunity to steal a workshop. As far as stealing resources, you might be comfortable lockpicking an extractor if it's got something particularly valuable inside. like an ammo factory or an aluminium extractor. A 10 cap bounty is not too bad for a haul of 5.56 ammo, for example, but you won't be able to know if a locked factory is even full or not, so it's a bit of a gamble. And it's certainly not going to be worth it to accrue a 100 cap bounty hacking your way through walls for a bit of ammo or aluminium. So, sadly it seems, your raiding is probably going to be limited to opportunities to take improperly secured workshops and resources. Now personally, I think the system is a bit too restricted on the raiding side of things. As someone who wants to own several workshops, I'd love to have to fend off other players every so often. But I think with this system as it is currently, not too many people are even going to try, because who wants to gamble a ton of their caps for a small amount of resources? But this is how it is for now, and armed with this information, you'll have no trouble defending your workshops so you can claim all the sweet resources for yourselves. Just get to the workshop before anyone else does. If you have any questions about how workshops and PvP mechanics work, feel free to ask in the comments below. That's it for now, I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.